Sorry about that, guys. The video had cut off, but like I was saying, I do wish I had some form of contact to reach Baraka or Nick on, because I could see that he was struggling. This guy was suffering. This guy was being tormented inside, internally. He really was, and nobody reached out to him. Nobody understood. Well, I wouldn't say understood, because there were a lot of TFLers, who watched his videos that understood his pain, but nobody at the time had known it was that bad, and that it would have gotten to this point where it would eventually lead to his own self-demise. You know what I mean? Nobody knew it would all come to this. And sometimes this is why I'm kind of upset with the people in society, because they don't try to help people who are obviously calling out for help. It's like they won't lend a helping hand. They won't reach out. It's like you see somebody over there, they're being beaten or physically assaulted and being beaten to a bloody pulp at the side of the road, and you just walk by and you don't do anything. You don't call the cops. You don't try to intervene. You don't do anything, and that's exactly what this situation is like. You see somebody battling demons, especially the ones that were probably closest to him, like his family. I mean, I would hope that they at least attempted to help the guy. Just sit down and talk to him. Have him do a little soul searching and try to find some area of his life that he's passionate about. Something not having to do with women, dating, relationships, sex, or anything like that. And he could probably build his purpose around that, and not worry too much anymore about not having somebody. And this is just something we as a collective, myself included, have to start doing. When we see people suffering, we don't just stay silent and say nothing, and don't ask the person if he's okay, or don't at least try to lend a helping hand. We need to help people who truly need it. We need to speak to them and not just tell them to go see a professional who most likely is just looking to line their pockets with more money. We need to actually show him or her, whoever. The reason why I'm saying him is because it's often men that often go through that are often unable to freely express their emotions and feelings, and a lot of times people in society don't care about men. So we need to show him some compassion and sit down and talk to him. This is what we as a society need to start doing. And if somebody had reached out to this guy and really sat down and talked to this guy, really sat down, had a lengthy conversation with this guy and gave him some helpful advice, this wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have ended this way. Baraka wouldn't have ended himself this way if somebody had taken the time to speak to the guy. And I'm at such a loss of words right now. I just can't believe. Even though I never actually knew the guy personally, it hurts to know that somebody that I knew of who was suffering who was in severe emotional pain, felt that the only way out was to take his life, and eventually ended up doing so in the possibly worst way. Man. Sometimes you could only wonder what has gotten with humanity. What is humanity on? I mean, obviously we couldn't make women date him, you know. If women didn't want to date him, or if women don't want to date anybody, any man for that matter, we obviously can't force them to do that. So the only thing we could do is like try to give a man who's struggling through true force loneliness the best of our support as possible. That's all we could do, you know, and show him that he's not alone. You know, there's other people experiencing the same thing that he is, and not because he's unable to attain a woman in his life means that his life is meaningless. It does not mean that, you know. And this is another reason why I really hate this modern hookup culture and all this whole disaster that the sexual revolution of the 1970s has caused on men moving towards the end of the 20th century and into the 21st century. Stuff like this is stuff like that cause men to commit acts like this on themselves. That cause them to make them feel like they're worthless because they can't. And the culture where that tells men that if they're not getting sex on a certain frequency, that their life is a total failure and that their life is meaningless is another reason why something like this happened. And I'm just so shaken from hearing this news. I'm just so shaken. But anyway, I'm gonna have to end this video because this video my camera's about to close out soon. All I can say is rest in peace, Baraka. You know, we love